community is people living in an area that belongs to one body. You usually belong to one body. They may not want to say that, but they do. There's always your church, and then you have the schools, and you have your kids who go to school, and through them you meet other people, and you become part of whatever is they're associated in the community. So that's where your community, yeah, that's it.
Every little kid is taught that they shouldn't talk to strangers. I mean, do you talk to strangers? How do you know if a stranger is worth speaking to? Hey kid, don't talk to strangers. Where's my daughter at? I'm gonna go get my daughter in here in a minute and tell her she's 3 weeks old, but she needs to know this.
Well, listen, I was born in New Rochelle, New York, and from there I moved to St. Augustine, Florida. And I lived in St. Augustine, Florida for about 14 years. Then I moved to Hudson, New York. Well, Hudson was totally different. It was a different lifestyle. Living in Florida was living in Florida. And I wasn't sure I knew I wasn't going to like it, basically, because it was nothing familiar. So I think that's the first thing that happens when you move from one place to the other. Well, there was a lot of changes. As a teenager living here, the city has changed because most of the people that we associated with and had friends with and kind of were all bonded lived in one particular area of Hudson, being from Columbia Street, then it was Short Street, then it was Chapel Street. Those are all streets that were here and where you all had friends. When I went to school, I lived on Petition Street, which is over by the post office. And then urban renewal came through, and then lots of things changed.
Welcome everyone to, I did put the AC on, so we should be good with all these people here. A brief history of Hudson's experience with urban renewal, presented by Peter Chokehowski.
I've talked to a lot of folks who weren't part of it. I stopped people on the street, up the promenade. I'm sure many of you have as well. Folks who lived through that, who weren't involved in making the decisions, who didn't stand up, who didn't ask questions, who went to the public hearings and thought this was all logical, who now express a sense of regret. Certainly more people, certainly lots of people I've talked to about this who were just sort of witnesses miss nostalgically that community that they remember.
It was not like a community anymore that you knew and friends. You could go to their house and that kind of stuff. You build a high rise and what does that mean? That means a lot of people in one place, and it's not like a family thing. You can go from house to house, or you can holler to a friend, up the street, and I'll meet you here. It was different, but it's a sign of the times. That's what happens.
The reality was this project just flattened out entire neighborhoods. It took people away from their churches and their businesses. And if you think the rest of the town didn't have something to say about it, I think we're sitting here, like take the cotton out of your ears. It was a hard time for a lot of people.
Oh, we got a long ways to go. So far to go. And in this particular area right now, in the next few years, there's a lot of work has to be done, because you're now beginning to see exactly what people feel, because they're becoming more verbal, more vocal.
I think you tapped into one sort of thing that's really kind of interesting. It's the idea, and I don't know if it's true or not, but Hudson had these sort of Quaker Nantucket roots, and society in Hudson in the 19th century was a little scandalized the record shows, by the influx, of immigrants, like the rest of America. Let's face it.
It's like people don't view people as humans. They view people as a thing or a commodity.
Your voice, your hopes, and your dreams will define our American destiny. And your courage and goodness and love will forever guide us along the way. Together, we will make America strong again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Right now, we're not very great. We're nasty, we're rude, we're disrespectful. We're not great.
We're like bad kids.
We are. Like, EA, just like kids that don't just want to be unfriendly.
We're going to build the wall. We have no choice. We have no choice.
I really feel very sorry for America.
Exactly.
Because he is not going to do anything positive for people except the people that he view as his constituents, that he likes. He's not going to like people as persons. He's not going to. If you can do something for him, then he's fine. Other than that, I don't think he views people as people. I don't know what he views them as.
Build that wall. 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 Build that wall.
Because you see, they have this fantasy of everybody being, you can do this and you can do that, and everything is available to you and all this, but it's not. It's not.
Why do you think so many people are quick to believe that lie?
Because they want to. They want to. Because they think that this is going to help them. And this is what's really happening. And it's not. Because as the year goes on and on and on, with all these bills and things they have passed, when they find out, it has nothing to do with them.
The best way to stay competitive and protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico.
You can't do that. You shouldn't be able to do that. And you should think further than what you want to do.
Because we're a community.
Yeah, you are a community. You are a world with people living in it. And life does not revolve around you. Because you come in contact with too many people. So everybody that you come in contact, you have some effect somewhere or another.
I want to be clear. This is strictly a business decision. Once again, let's please get more information to share. We will sit down with officials from the union in the coming days.
How long it takes people to start tearing shit?
Throughout the transition, we must remain committed to manufacturing the same high-quality products that we always do.
And the economy may get better, not for us. We're still going to struggle. And if you think that things are going to come to you, it's not going to, because all the things that we view, even the so-called middle class, we view, it's going to affect them too.
After 5 years working at a furnace factory in Indianapolis, Renee, along with over 200 of her colleagues, are being laid off.
Tomorrow, I'm losing my job as the company I work for, the company I had hoped to serve until retirement, sells me out.
At a meeting to discuss the company's decision, those being let go expressed their disappointment, especially as many like Dwayne had voted for Donald Trump in 2016 because he said he would help workers like them.
Just like everyone else that voted for him, help our economy out. Hope to do what he promised the nation he'd do about keeping jobs in America safe. Apparently it's not happening as of right now.
Build that wall. Build that wall. Who's gonna pay for the wall? 100%. 100%.
The South will rise again. Russia is our friend. The South will rise again.
Birth of a Nation, a movie classic produced in 1915, dramatized what had now become the prevalent white attitude, the fear of incompetent, criminal, and savage Negroes who, with federal bayonets, ravaged an innocent South. And so, to save the South, the Ku Klux Klan organized in 1865. On horseback with guns, sword, and the cross, they terrorized Negroes and their sympathizers with violence, arson, and murder.
Well, things are different. Like, everything is available to young people now. Young people don't have to want for anything. And so if you have never been through it, you can't even tell them because they have no concept of, say, segregation. They have no concept of that. I mean, I remember that. I went to a black school when I lived in St. Augustine.
What was that like?
It was like nothing. This is what you did. This was the society that you lived in. And that's the only thing that you knew.
I've also heard a number of times that the colored and the white were not equal under the law. That's true. The colored gets the break and the white man doesn't. For instance, two men, one white and one colored, breaks into a store here. In all probability, the colored man would get a very light sentence and the white man would get a heavy sentence. Now, that's not equality under the law. But it goes back to the thing that I said to start with, that the white man of the South feels like it's actually his job to look after his colored citizens, or the colored citizens, and they are not held accountable to the same stringent letter of the law that the white man is.
Hold on. Don't touch me. Not touch me. Put your hand behind your back. I can't breathe. 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 I can't breathe.
Once again, police beating up on people. Back up. Right here.
Back up, then get on that step.
Okay.
Back up.
All he did was break up a fight. And this is what happens for breaking up a fight.
Which has never stopped.
It never stopped.
It has never stopped.
But we're seeing it.
Yes,
So much.
yes, visually now.
What?
Yeah, because in the South it happened all the time. They used to hang people with no name whatsoever, and they used to run you down. Because when you lived in Florida, that used to happen, and they used to shoot people. And of course you didn't have the video in the media now. And the papers never said anything. You were shot, you were shot, you were dead, you were dead, you were black, you were black. Who the hell cared?
That I have believed in it, I believe in it now, and I always will believe in segregation. First, because God teaches it. I think it's God's plan that the races be segregated. We find a lot of scripture on it. And for reasons that I've just mentioned, that I feel that their standards is not up to the white standard.
And they've always said black people were subhuman. Plain and simple. That's why they call them gorillas, monkeys. Because all those animals are very bright. I hate to tell. They've had more sense than most of the whites who talk about it, you know?
Well, I guess it's just plain born in us, instilled in us. In spite of the fact that you have great respect for some Negro individuals, respect them as people and not just as a servant. There is some physical revulsion, I think. The skin is dark. And I guess it's just something that we are so familiar with, it's just impossible, really, to overcome it.
Because most of the time, people didn't have radios and what have you. They didn't read the paper, and the papers didn't do anything about it. They didn't even acknowledge that all these killings and things had happened.
Why?
Because it wasn't important. You're nobody. You're nobody. You're not. You don't even exist.
Listen up.
In order to segregate the Negro, we essentially must segregate ourselves, you see. You cannot enslave, if you want to use that word, or hold down or discriminate against someone else without in turn having the same thing happen to yourself.
Preacher man, don't tell me.
Oh, goodness. Change only works with people. And right now, our whole philosophy is me.
Yes.
And so change is long time coming, I'm afraid.
What you gonna do? Stand up for your right.
A revolution. It depends on what you want the revolution to be. Changing things, maybe. Upgrading things, maybe. Turning negatives around, maybe.
Stand up.
Yes, we are a very selfish society. I think maybe we're getting a little better, you know, with all the catastrophes and things that's happened, and people are beginning to kind of realize that there are other human beings in the world, you know, in their vicinity or in their area or something like that. But I don't know how long that's going to last, because you see what's spouting out in other people seems to have more of an influence than the so-called goodness. I used to babysit when I was a teenager, when I lived in Hudson and I went to school, because I went to Hudson High for 3 years. And of course, that was my after-school job, was to babysit. So I liked that. And I like kids. I really like kids. And so when I went to SUNY College Skill, that's what I took up. I took up childcare. And from there, I worked at the F at Home of Brooklyn for about 3 or 4 years. And I like kids, and I enjoy children. And that's all I've been doing most of my life.
What has that taught you? That has to have taught you something.
Oh, it's taught me that kids are human. And even though people think they're a toy and they don't do this, they need a whole lot. Kids need a lot of everything. And also they need to be understood and respected and treated as human beings and treated as, great. They're great human beings. They really are. And they teach you an awful lot.
What have they taught you?
Humility. And they've taught me how to like each other and to love each other and to be able to respect each other. And also that everybody is different. And if you see the differences, then you work with the differences. That's what kids teach you. Because you have a lot of kids who are different. Yes. And once you recognize the differences, give them a chance. And a lot of people don't like to do that. They'll just say, well, he's... No. Work with him. See what his positive things are. And work with that. Our kids got... a lot of grown-ups have a lot of negatives too. And you learn to work with them. Well, I think you have to do that by not getting angry, getting upset, screaming. That doesn't mean anything to anybody. You can always be there to give them a hand. Oh, if you see something that you think is wrong, you try to straighten it out. You try to correct it. Because that's the only way you can do stuff. Because people don't listen to screaming. And a lot of times you're going to get your hand stepped on, your foot stepped on, and all that stuff. But if you believe that whatever you're doing is going to be helpful, I think that has more preference than anything else. That the world will be better. That's it. I don't think it will be, but hey, not in my lifetime. But hopefully, right now, it's in the toilet.
Yeah. And I think it's up to the younger
Yes.
To really motivate.
Yes. And the only way you can do that is, you can just talk to kids and show them. You got to show them to it. Because words a lot of times don't mean nothing.
The changes that will happen as they go along will release us, free us, if you will, so that we can have a much broader perspective on human responsibility and human dignity and human rights. Whereas before we thought in terms of white only, we will be able to think in terms of all men.
We live in hope. We have faith to believe that the good things that we hope for as human beings and as God's children will finally come to pass.